Hey guys, it's a nice hot summer day finally. So let's talk about the JT here. Of course I spent, oh my goodness. Oh no, did you see that? My L8 just fell off. We can't have that. If you guys ever pass through Kentucky on a trip, you got to get one of these. That's absolutely delicious stuff right there. Set that back up there. Anyhow, so I had the JL Wrangler for about a year and a half almost, and now I'm in the JT. Both of them were Sport S models. So I thought it'd be kind of neat to take a look at the minor differences that I have found so far. So there's the obvious things that everybody knows about, like the fact that the honeycomb grill insert is larger in diameter to let more air flow through for towing usage. And then you've got different factory wheels. Of course, I've changed mine. So, you know, a lot of the things are just really minor, like the fact that the Jeep logo here is black instead of chrome. But on the inside of the truck, there are a few differences. Let me crawl in here and I'll show you a couple of them. Now, of course, the steering wheel's kind of upside down, but on the JT, this bezel around the steering wheel is chrome, and on the Wrangler, it was actually a brushed nickel kind of look. Similar to what the dash layout is. You know, see how like on the Rubicons, they're red, right? Well, this is kind of a charcoal gray, brushed nickel kind of look. And on the Wrangler, the steering wheel bezel is kind of the same thing, and it matched. So I'm not a big fan of this actually. And sometimes if you're in the light, I can't get it right now, but if the sunlight hits this a certain way, it actually causes some glare too. So that's a kind of a minor difference. Another one I noticed is that over here on the passenger grab handle, the Wrangler is stamped Wrangler right there, which is kind of a nice touch. But on the Gladiator, they just left it blank. And in my opinion, it looks kind of cheap. Why couldn't they just stamp Gladiator on there? That would have been cool. I don't know. Obviously here on your headlight switch, you have a button that turns on the lights in the bed, the cargo lights. And obviously that's not on the Wrangler because it's a different configuration. Back here in the second row, you have this storage box. Now this one has the lockable version, but if you don't pay extra to get the lockable version, you still get a storage box back here. It's just open. And because of that, the Wrangler floor liners won't fit because they're too long. So I kind of chopped mine up as a temporary fix. I just cut them up to fit, but I'm going to end up having to get something that covers a little bit better back here. The ones in the front fit just fine, obviously, but these back ones didn't fit very well. Hey Dixie, where'd you come from? So that's another minor difference. If you're trying to swap parts over like I did and reuse your JL stuff, those won't work. Well, I guess they will if you trim them, but other than that, there's cosmetically not much difference between this and the Wrangler as far as the body goes and the interior. The seats seem to have a little bit more padding in them, although they're basically the same look and design. They just feel to me like they have a little bit more cushioning and padding in them than the JL seats did. I'm not 100% sure that they changed them, but to my tail, it feels a little bit softer. But again, it's pretty much the same vehicle. From here forward, you're pretty much getting a JL Wrangler Unlimited. So obviously all the big differences are happening back here. Now I've been told that they kind of adapted the rear suspension from the Ram 1500, and this thing rides like a dream. It rides really, really well. I've driven so many Jeeps, almost every model of Jeep that's been out in the last 30 years. And in my opinion, this Jeep right here is the second best riding Jeep on the highway that I've ever been in. The best is the new Cherokee Trailhawk. I drove one of those for a while, and that thing was like, it was like riding on air. I couldn't believe how they had the suspension dialed in on that Jeep. That thing was awesome. But this is a very close second. It rides so good out on the road. Now, of course, these 35s are LTD 8-ply rated, so they're a little stiffer, and it kind of firmed things up. But when it had the factory tires on it, this thing rode like a dream. And I think that Ram 1500 suspension design, of course, you know, they dialed that in for those full-size trucks to make it have the best in-class ride quality. And obviously that's going to carry over here to the Jeep, so really happy with that. But yeah, the frame is a little bit different. If you get up under there, you'll notice there's some differences in the frame. Pretty much they just beefed it up for towing and hauling use. Interestingly, a lot of the step rails and accessories that bolt onto the JL will bolt onto this. It's just that you've got that section back there that's longer, which prevents you from using the JL rock rails and step bars and things like that. But a lot of the mounting holes and stuff are in the same place. So you can tell that they try to basically maintain the design that they had for the JL as closely as they could when they put this together. And all the work really went into back here. So somebody was asking me about the frame welding and whether or not it looked a lot better than the JL. Remember, the JL Wrangler had some early teething issues. And when I look around here, again, I'm not a professional welder, but just to my somewhat mechanically inclined eye, these welds look better. Obviously, they're not perfect, but when I go over the frame on this thing, the welds do look better than what they did on the Wrangler. Here's some of the control arm bracket welding on the driver's side, and the passenger side is pretty similar to this. So again, not perfect, but it's not bad. And when I look at the welding along the seam of the frame itself, I don't see nearly as much splatter and porosity as what I had on my JL. Again, it's pretty similar on both sides. So I think that they did do a better job. I think they've gotten some better welding quality on the frames of these things. Coming in from the back side, everything back here looks pretty good too when I checked it out. So I don't anticipate having any issues out of this. I'm considering putting some kind of a coating on here. Well, I mean, it's obviously a little dirty, but I could clean this up pretty easy at this point since it's still relatively new. And I'm considering putting some kind of fluid film or some kind of coating on this, because here in about 6 months we will have road salt everywhere, and I'm planning on keeping this truck for a longer period of time. So let me know what you guys think. I'm still amazed that they put 3 mufflers, excuse me, on here. There's the first muffler, then a very large muffler, and then back here you've got a resonator, which is basically a muffler. Don't know why they put 3 mufflers on this thing. Seems like that would choke it down, and it's not really that loud of an engine, but what do I know? So let's look and see which parts of this thing are not steel. Obviously the grill is plastic. The hood is still aluminum. Let's move on around here, try the fender. Obviously that's still aluminum. Alright, so the door sills here are made out of steel. Okay, so at least that section is steel. It'd be kind of neat if they made the whole thing out of aluminum, but looks like all of this is steel. The doors, of course, are aluminum. Oh, got steel tub back here. So on pickup trucks, in my experience, if you live in the salt belt, these cab corners back here are very notorious for rusting out. So I was really hoping that those were aluminum, but obviously they're not. And of course, the tailgate is also not steel. So basically the bed sides and the structure of the body are steel, the cab, but the tailgate, the doors, the fender, the hood, all that stuff is aluminum or some other material. So that's kind of cool, I guess. I just wish those cab corners were aluminum. Oh well. Gosh, it's a hot day out here, isn't it, Dixie? So bottom line is, I just really love this truck. The more I drive it, the more I love it. Everywhere I go, it gets attention. People pull up next to me, get their cameras out. People walk up in the parking lot at Walmart, try to find me and talk to me about it. You know, it's just something that people just, I don't know, it's different. You know, you haven't seen one of these in forever. You know, they stopped making trucks in '92, and I don't think they ever did make a truck that had a removable top and doors. So people love it. I love it. What I love about it the most is that it's super fun, and I can do all the work I need to do with it. It's like a Swiss Army knife. So I know that the seats and all that are supposed to be water resistant in the Wrangler, but just for kicks and giggles, I'm going to do one final thing here. I got some Scotch Guard auto fabric and carpet protector And I'm just gonna spray the interior down with this stuff to give it just a little bit more resistance to water and stains from sweat and Kool-Aid and all that good stuff. So I'm gonna spray this in there. Gotta read the directions carefully. Probably have to let it cool down a little bit because it's still pretty hot out here. Store at temperature below 120. Oh well, maybe it'll be okay. So I'll go ahead and do this. But yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up here tonight, guys, and we'll talk to you later on. Thanks.